So a number of years ago now, before I became an online weight loss coach and trainer, I used to run my own private weight loss gym, face-to-face personal training and coaching. And from time to time, I would invite into my facility a fellow specialist to share some information with my clients. And on this one particular occasion, I invited in a guest speaker who's a nutritionalist. Her name's Amy Richmond. She's a pretty well-known nutritionist, certainly in the area that I worked in. And she came in to give a short presentation on nutrition. Anyway, she came in, and after a rather interesting start to the talk, she began to share her own experiences of weight loss. And she'd started off her life, I say started off her life, but started off her journey becoming a nutritionalist 20 stone overweight. And at that point, she didn't know she was going to become a nutritionalist. She was, I think she was in her 20s, that sort of age, mid-20s, late 20s, and she was 20 stone overweight. And she decided she was going to do something about it. So she started to take her own health in her hands and do things to correct her weight and take some of that weight off. And she was able to get herself down to, I believe it's about 15 stone. So she lost about 5 stone from 20 stone down to 15, which is a fantastic effort. And at this point, she still wasn't a nutritionist. She was again doing other things. And then she continued. She got to 15 stone, and she sort of plateaued there for a little while. She was telling us. And then she was able to move on again, and eventually got herself down to, I think at the time of the talk that she was giving at my facility, she was about, I think 12, maybe 11 stone, something like that. So she'd taken off in total between 8 and 9 stone in weight, which again I think is a fantastic effort, and completely turned her health and well-being around, and was now this nutritionist stood in front of my clients telling and sharing advice on nutrition. But here's the thing that really stood out to me from her presentation. It wasn't about necessarily anything to do with food or hormones or anything like that, and she shared some really good information. The thing that really stood out to me that she shared with my clients that evening was this. It was this comment that she made about herself. She said, at 20 stones, looking back on it now, I realized I was telling myself a certain story. And the story she was telling herself was the 20 stone person story. The conversation she was having in her head was around, how does a person behave that's 20 stone? How do they think? How do they move? How do they eat? And she was telling herself that story. She was living it out, and it had come to fruition. So she realized, I said early on, but she realized if she was going to become successful, she would have to change her internal story, the conversation she was having with herself. So she changed the story and got down to the 15 stone. And as I said, she then plateaued there for a while. And again, looking back on it, because we can all do things in hindsight, can't we? And she realized the reason that she had plateaued at 15 stone for quite a while was because she was now telling herself the 15 stone story. I've lost 5 stone. I've got to a level now whereby this is what my body will accept. It won't go any lower than that. I've done fantastically well in losing 5 stone, but be thankful, and this is what it is now pretty much for me. I'm 15 stone and that's my body type. And she realised she was telling herself a story, and eventually went on, as I say, to get down to 12 or 11 stone. So my question for you is, are you telling yourself a particular story about your situation? And we've all done it, myself included. And we do that sometimes to protect our own self-ego, because it's difficult as adults sometimes to recognise that we are not particularly good at something, that we're finding something difficult, that we're struggling with something. And weight loss is one of those areas in our lives where we can be fantastically successful in lots of different areas of our lives, our careers, our family lives, our social lives, lots and lots of success there. But when it comes to weight loss, we're not successful. So we tell ourselves this story to protect our ego. And the story might be, I'm great at doing my career, and because I'm great at my career, I'm just too busy to do anything about my health and well-being. And that's maybe a story you've told yourself, possibly. So for this week, all I'd like to do is, like Amy did, and like all of my clients have done effectively, is look at the story you're telling yourself and start to pick it apart. Because I can guarantee you now, if you're carrying excess weight, it's all based around a particular story you're telling yourself. But look, I can't make you challenge your own story, because if you've told yourself that story often enough for many, many years, and you're not prepared to challenge that story, nobody can really help you when you're in that place mentally. But if you're prepared to start challenging your story and picking that story apart, and then if you're prepared to start to create a new story, just like Amy did and many of my clients have done, that's when you can start to move in the direction you want to move in. So for this week, again, all I'd like to do is just maybe take a look at the story you've been telling yourself, question that story, and start to come up with some different narratives, some different storylines, more positive storylines that are going to help to move you forwards in the direction that you'd like to move in. So that's it for this week's Training Insights video. Again, hopefully you found that of some use. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me. But until the next one, take very good care, and bye for now.